जो दिखता है वो बिकता है doesn't apply to me at all because I have many times gone underground for years and then surfaced. There are
Now,
only two ways to unravel. One is to sleep and the other is travel. This was in a song by Jim Morrison. I've got many Oscars for the performances in my bathroom, but unless it's shared, there's no point. Success is going from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm. I cannot go work for them or meet people for them. That doesn't work. I tried it once. It doesn't work for me. I mean, I look insincere doing it. But I still believe in the film and I still believe in Imtiaz in spite of all the criticism. I have no issues. I'll work with him again in a jiffy. Oh, it was a great experience working with Chris. He's a big Aussie, and I've lived in Australia for a long time. Also, it's my third movie with Salman, and we get along well. And let's see how it turns out.
welcome to Speakeasy, Randeep. This has been a while that we've spoken, and look how you're talking right now. You're at your house, I'm at my house, and this is supposed to be the new way of communicating, right? How have you been doing? How's your quarantine going on?
This way, everybody could have got on at any time of the day or night. Um, well, lockdown is treating me well, catching up on things that I had been missing out on. A bit of reading, watching shows, doing some basic back to acting, basic exercises, just feeling like, a new start, a new beginning all over again. So I think this is done well for us.
This is the new way of life, like you put it, right? We have been in quarantine for a while now. What's one thing you've noticed that has changed in you? From the hectic life to this life, I mean, we've all got time to self-reflect. What do you think has changed about you?
I think accepting things as they are a bit more,
Yeah.
having to accept the reality and do what is right instead of, wanting things some other way, making the most of what you have,
Yeah.
which I have done in the past, but I think this is reiterated that that's what we all need to do. It's brought about a bit of chill, a bit more chill, I think, and yeah, bit of introspection, bit of where we've been going as humanity, as a world, as you. So it's all those reflections that come about. Yeah, I anyway live in my head a lot, so it doesn't matter where I am.
That's a good way to live.
There are
Now,
only two
I
ways to unravel. One is to sleep, and the other is travel. This was in a song by Jim Morrison, and I think the sleep part is really unraveling now.
you sort of been self-isolating yourself from this Bollywood fraternity for a while, isn't it? So this is not really difficult. You've been really busy in your whole world, haven't you, Randeep? I mean, we've met after a long
I
time.
I have always been a bit like that. My own journey has always been of utmost importance, and everybody's journeys they are, and I often don't feel the need to share it, so to speak, because it's my own journey. Why burden the world with more information than there already is? Um, I've been a bit of a oddball out in Bollywood. Have always been, from my choices to the not taking the beaten path. For example, through this question, "Jo dikhta hai wo bikta hai" doesn't apply to me at all because I have many times gone underground for years and then surfaced. I almost went underground for 3 years just before this uh, movie of mine. And yeah, so I was doing my own thing. I was working on changing myself as a person for that particular requirement of that script.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, so yeah, it doesn't apply to me. And yes, I have nothing much has changed. I was never much of a socializer with the film fraternity. Otherwise, I'm hanging around with my friends who are not from the film fraternity a lot, almost every evening for a while. And then in the evenings are also taken over by my horses and my dog, and
Yeah.
riding, and spending time at the stables with the Rajasthani boys that work on my horses. Yeah, having a quiet little evening by myself with my dog has always been a very preferable evening.
I must say, you mentioned that you have been taking those gaps and you have been, sort of making your own niche over the years, the way you always have. And of course, you had hurdles, like for example, with the what happened with the Battle of Sahargi. You sort of took out a very positive point out of it with what happened with that film, because you put in your entire soul and you put in a lot of effort to that. How did that change you, Randeep? What happened there? And now, post that, how did you look at your film journey once you came out of that?
It was a very conscious decision to start with. I've been very fortunate that after these gaps, I still find work, and directors find me a bit unexplored still after 20 years. It is because of these gaps. Um, well, marta kya na karta, what else could have I done? Had I taken that negatively and had a nasur in my heart and let it fester, it would have just made me a bitter person. It was a failure in the sense, a big failure where you put in so much for 3 years and it does not see the light of the day. It's performing arts is an art of sharing. So unless other people see it, it's of no consequence. I've got many Oscars for the performances in my bathroom, but unless it's shared, it's no point. So,
That's true.
so, so that was a big hurdle. That was something very hard to come out of, and I think this hardcore action was a great. Otherwise, it was a big setback to me, but it made me a better person. I could take failure on the chin even more. I have done it in the past, and I think success is going from one failure to another without losing enthusiasm. So I think that has worked in my favor, and I just had to look at it positively. There is no other way. It made me a better person. I think Sikhs are a very spiritual. It's a very spiritual way of thought. So I kept busy through that time. It's not that I was just sitting at home and waiting for it to happen or to finish. Yeah, so only way to look at it is positive, man. There's no other way.
It makes you also realize that in industry, you're always told that you have to be there in the limelight, you have to be in people's memories, and you have to be seen. You Even after that setback of 3 years and all of that, you did not choose that path. You still sort of stuck to what you believe in, that is letting your work do the talking.
Quality over quantity, I don't know. One just tries to do the best they can of the opportunities they get. I choose the best role I can out of the roles that I get. I cannot go work for them or meet people for them. That doesn't work. I tried it once. It doesn't work for me. I mean, I look insincere doing it. So I just whatever mehnat has to go in the time of the work, so that then that carries on. But to point out something very important, I have been very fortunate. I really am very grateful and fortunate that I have been able to do that. But it could have easily not been the case. So it's something you take, it's kind of a risk you take, or you just sit and say, no, this is what my heart says. I'm going to follow it. It's not that I don't listen to people. A lot of people tell me other things, and with their all good intentions. But then one feels that, hey, this is what you really want to do, so just do it. Even if it doesn't go well, at least you tried doing what you felt like doing, rather than failing at other people's ideas.
Tell me, how do you handle with the kind of criticism that comes in the films that you do, which sort of happened with Love Aaj Kal. Of course, it was an Imtiaz Ali film. It got all the buzz that it wanted to. But of course, that probably the expectations with that film was so much, and all of that with Kartik, Sara, you. How do you take that, and how do you look at what came your way?
I look at it in a way that we tried our best. I did my best, and I actually was fortunate enough to not face much criticism. I was appreciated a lot, and that also is because of the film and because of the director. So you cannot take one part of the film out, and it's a teamwork. So I worked for this team, and I think Imtiaz did the best he could with what he had. And it is a story which thematically spoke to me very well. And I think what he told me he was trying to make, he made. Rest is never in the hands of the artists involved, whether it is a director. Um, there's a lot more other factors, but I still believe in the film, and I still believe in Imtiaz, in spite of all the criticism. I have no issues. I'll work with him again in a jiffy. I really like him as a director.
Yeah, and on that note, we were talking about the action part of it. You got to do some really cool action stunts recently, and that too with Chris Hemsworth, and you had this whole it's like a whole Hollywood crew involved, and there were amazing actors in it. Tell me, how was that?
I,
And
I
yeah,
was I was very fortunate enough to get this part. I was auditioned for this part, and then they called for my movies and went through that. And I am very grateful that they liked it to cast me in this role. Uh, when I first day I saw what they were planning to do, just they ran it through for me. I was like, shit, फंस गए यार ये कहाँ पे आ गए. Then they broke it down and they worked with it, from basics of movement and action
yeah,
and training to going to where it was. First, they trained me alone and Chris alone, and then they brought us together for hours on end, for days. And because it had to have that energy, it had to have that realism and pace to it. So yeah, so then once we came together, we kind of sweated and bled over each other for a few days, and then we captured that scene, which was very quick. Um, so it is a lot to do with the director, who himself is a big he was an action double. Then he became an action coordinator. Then he was a second unit director on Avengers Endgame. So all that experience and all the preparation which we did, they did for 4 to 6 months prior to shooting, is the result
yeah.
that there is there to see. And it kind of changed my mind about action because of the realism involved in it. I would love to do it again and again. I I don't mind just being an action star from now on. I've done enough.
Tara,
I've done enough drama.
Tiger, you better watch out.
Oh
And
no,
Akshay.
they do a different kind of action. That's not
Yeah.
my scene.
No, I know what you mean. But tell me now, when you go back to the kind of action, the louder, the loud, with 20 men flying action, back to that set. Um, you know, i- is it consciously you're always going to remember the training that you got for this one? Is that going to obviously come in to be handy, or how are you going to compare that?
At the beginning of my career, I think my third film was a movie called Risk, which was on the life of Daya Nayak
Correct.
and all the trouble that he was having at that time. And I spent a hell of a lot of time with him, like months on end with him in his police station, talking about meeting other cops and all that. So that movie kind of gave me all the basic training I needed to play a cop in any damn movie henceforth. So similarly, maybe this movie has given me the action training that I can probably do in any Bollywood film, hands down. But yeah, anything you do, it's got a different flavor, it's got a different choreography, different beats.
Yeah.
So I have to again work hard and live up to this. Uh, I don't know how I'll manage that, but hopefully.
And I think it was pretty cool to see, and you and Chris Hemsworth together. I think global representation is so important, and Indian actors doing that for us is fabulous. How was that experience? Tell us about that.
Oh, it was a great experience working with Chris. He's a big Aussie, and I've lived in Australia for a long time. Also, he's one of the top most Hollywood stars, but that's not his vibe. He's very chilled out, cool, very childlike, very funny and witty, and very tough and hardworking. He was there working harder than anybody else, whereas he could have just taken, sat back a little. He's already got it. But he worked very hard, and his work ethics were absolutely great. I've seen him in other movies, and he's a very good actor, apart from being a very good looking man and being a Hollywood star. But on the set, I think the energy is driven by the lead actor, and the energy driven on this set was about 200% because that's what he brings to the set.
And then, of course, you have the other big action film, Radhe, which I'm sure will have action in it as well. It'll be an action drama, I'm assuming. Tell us about that, and of course, working with Salman again. It's you have that
I don't know
chemistry and
how
rapport
much.
with him.
I don't know how much I can talk about Radhe because I have not been briefed as to what to talk about Radhe. But
Okay.
yes, I'm playing the antagonist for the first time after 20 years, giving it a shot. Salman was very keen on me doing this part. Prabhudeva is one of the most simple, sweetheart people I've met, and in sign language, we've been churning out some great work. I think. Let's wait and see. But it's been really
That's so
special.
true.
It's my third movie with Salman, and we get along well. And let's see how it turns out.
The industry, everything had to come to a standstill because of the quarantine period. There were a lot of other films that were happening. There are a lot of production houses that had to stop their work. What was there in your pipeline that had to right now sort of be in that same space, which had to be stopped? And what is happening there? And
There is
how
a
important for them?
uh,
Yeah.
Radhe was going to release on Eid, which is not releasing, which I had finished shooting for, but I guess the theaters are not going to open. So that would be the first kind of a setback in my life, so to speak. The other one, I was shooting a very beautiful comedy slice of life film with Ileana de Cruz, directed by Balvinder, who's been a writer to many great films. And then subsequently, I've got other movies. I've got another movie called Rat on the Highway, which we shot in Scotland a while back. So that's post productions going on. So all these movies combined together is my personal thing. I don't know when they will open these cinemas, but definitely they'll have to offload some on the OTT platforms.
Yeah.
Such a big, backlog where we have many releases a week is going
Yeah.
to be something very hard to deal with. And the only solution is for people, for the industry to come together and deal with it together rather than, doing it individually.
Yeah, like right now, Lakshmi Bomb, I know that they're releasing it in the OTT. It was supposed to have, I'm sure there are other films as well. When we look at the world today around us, we've also realized that we all need to come together to, battle the situation that we are in. And you've been doing your bit as well. The industry came together to help the daily wage workers. What do you have to say about that? And how important it is right now to understand and have empathy for others around you who are not as privileged?
I have been fortunate through my upbringing and even from my background and also what I've learned through Sikhi that I had this opportunity and this mindset before this pandemic came in. And what this has proved is that we can come together and help each other as humanity. There are, obviously we all live our individual lives and we are trying to look after ourselves. But the selflessness with which numerous people, so many people have come out and helped each other, helped the less fortunate, helped the real needy ones, and given a slice of their own bread to them has been an exemplary thing. Not just here, all across the world. I think humanity has seen another aspect of it, and they've also seen what bad we were doing to the environment, where when since we are not out and about and going at 100%, a lot of the environment is rejuvenating itself. My only thing is that hopefully after this ends, we retain some of this as a collective in the human race, rather than start again running around helter skelter on hoarding one's own or filling one's own coffers. I
Yeah.
think a collective is the only way to come out of it, and I think this has taught us that we can come together.
On that note, you mentioned that film with Ileana, and I know that it's based. It's sort of a tongue-in-cheek comedy. I'm sure also on the topic of color bias. The bias that you face on the basis of your color. Now, this industry has also been a huge part of that, right? We used to believe that only a certain way a man looked or a woman looked, has to be really fair. For a long time, that was something that was going on today, and of course,
It is still is.
it still is, right? what was the kind of bias that you and what you faced also, and do you think today how relevant it is to see that the world needs to be perceived in a different way, and even the industry that we're a part of, make
I was one of the first people from the industry to refuse a fairness cream ad. I was really down in the dumps and I really needed the money. But I took a stand that no, if I do that, then I am going against my own principles, that we are all equal as humans and everybody is as beautiful as the other. To find attraction in the opposite sex, there will be somebody who will find that and somebody who will not. You can have your personal preferences, of course, you're an individual, but to have it as a bias or as looking down upon people is absolutely wrong.
and I'm really hopefully looking forward to that film because I think it's important subject to discuss, and I think comedy is one of the best ways to bring that out, right?
Yeah, I think the message given with entertainment is the only message that is retained. Otherwise, it's become preachy and you kind of run away from it like a college lecture.
I agree. On that note, while I'm wrapping it, I'm going to ask a few recommendations from you. A few films that people should watch, you think they should watch, that you've been watching. And to sum it up, for people who are sort of feeling a little down and down under the weather, feeling not so good about what's happening, your few words to them.
Look, stop looking out and longing for that. I personally have always enjoyed my thoughts and company of my thoughts of penning them down or reading, learning a lot of things. So this is a time you can spend learning a lot of new things, and just believe that you're doing it for a greater good. You're doing it with the safety of your family, of your young ones, of your elders, and that you're doing it to for the families of so many millions of people across the globe. So that if you look at it like that and look at it positively, I think it should be fine. So keep yourself busy with the things that you wanted to do when you were not so busy, like when you were younger, when you were a child. I think that should hold you in good stead.
I think that's great advice, and I hope people pick up that. And thank you, Randeep, for talking to us.
Bring out the child in
Congratulations.
you.
Always, right? But this is lovely. Thank you so much. I really
Thank you, love.
hope that's simple advice. Bring out the child in you. And congratulations once again. You have a big release right out there for everybody to watch.
Thank you.
And I'm sure they will. So thank you so much, Randeep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Watch E-Town News Monday to Friday at 9:30 p.m. only on Zoom.